Hello and welcome to the second Anima podcast featuring me, Callan, also known as Animasphere, and
me, HoneyPandaBunny, also known as Toko.
And today we'll be discussing The Killing Joke, which came out last month now. It's been out for a little while. Very controversial with, shall we say the prequel. The actual Killing Joke itself is a pretty faithful adaptation, but it's mostly the 30 minutes that brought up the controversy. So what was your initial thoughts of Killing Joke? Did you like it?
The first 30 minutes, I kind of was just like, no. And then the rest of it was okay, but I don't know, I felt as if it was like missing something. I don't know what it is, I felt like it was missing something because it didn't seem to affect me as much as the story did when I first read it. And I don't know if it was to do with it being really hard to kind of animate and keep that ambiguity about some things, or whether it was just the tone of it. I don't know, maybe the tone of it was just ruined for me because the beginning 30 minutes, and maybe that made me go, oh, and then not make me want to watch the rest of it kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. The tonal shift is very different. Like, from the first 30 minutes, it's not in line with how the original Killing Joke went. But obviously, that it's not trying to be that because it's a prequel, but you can tell very quickly, as soon as that scene with Batman and the rain starts playing, you can instantly tell that the tone changes to how the comic book originally was. And from then on, it does keep that tone. It is difficult because, obviously, the original Killing Joke, it's not a very long comic. It's only about 70, 80 pages. So I can understand that they, in order to make a full-length movie, they would have to add on that additional content. And obviously, because of how Barbara Gordon was treated in the original comic, they had to obviously want to flesh out her character more, give you a reason to care about the character more before her horrible maiming by the Joker.
I think it just made us hate her more, though.
Well, I don't necessarily...
Hate is a strong word, not hate. I think it made her look more pathetic, in a sense.
I think it's wrong to blame the character when I think the writing's at fault here.
Yeah, the writing is pretty bad. I
don't think it helped with what material they were given. Like, it's very difficult to craft that story correctly.
Because as the beginning one, it was kind of like it got a bit of a lash by fans by being like, oh, Barbara Gordon never got, like, she was just there to get shot, just like near death kind of like thing.
Yes.
So then they tried to, in this, I'm assuming they tried to give her more of a character, but the way that they went around trying to flesh out her character just kind of ended up making it worse, because it just made her look, she couldn't do anything on her own because she was too emotional or that kind of thing. And I don't know, I feel as a woman myself, it was really like, I don't know, it was just poorly represented on writing half as trying to write a strong female character, because Batgirl / Oracle is very smart, is very intelligent, and is like really good at fighting. So her being portrayed in this way was more of a kick in the face to her than ever.
Okay, but the actual Killing Joke I did quite enjoy. It wasn't the breakout movie I thought it was going to be, but generally I did enjoy this movie. Yeah. I thought it was pretty well adapted. It was pretty faithful. I mean, there's only a couple of changes. They've added a couple of stuff. Some stuff I like, some stuff not so hot on. But, generally I thought this was a pretty good adaptation.
What did you think to, like, the colouring and, like, the animating kind of thing? Like, because I thought, like, wow, this is, like, a completely different step. Because obviously the comic got printed twice, I think, didn't it? Like, one where it was, like, really bright fluorescent colours, and one where it was, like, toned down.
Yes. I thought the colouring was alright. I mean, it was more standard, I'd say. It wasn't garish or very bright. For this kind of story they were trying to tell, I guess they were trying to stick to a consistent tone.
It would be more stylistic, if that makes sense. Like, not just with colour, I mean, like, the actual style of it, if you know what I mean. I think, like, the only, like, obviously the animation was amazing, because it always is with those kind of films, but there wasn't any shading, like the one where you see Joker in the opening kind of thing, where he's got his hand, not the opening, but
when he becomes the Joker,
when he's got his hands in his head and he's like laughing and
yes,
everything, like, that was like really well detailed. And I know they can't do that for every frame because it would take forever, but on a thing like this, I don't know, I feel like it should have been more stylized, a little bit more like the original. But obviously even the original, like, writer / artist had different interpretations on how it should look. So
alright, well, we'll talk about that more in a bit, because first I want to break this podcast down into two sections. I want to first talk about the first 28-30 minutes, which is we'll nickname the Batgirl prequel, and then we'll go into more detail about the actual Killing Joke, as I feel that's a great way of breaking it down. First, I mean, I don't want to be fully negative about the 30 minutes because I think a lot of people have, kind of absolutely trashed it. So I am going to start with a couple of positives. I think the animation in the first half is really, really good. I actually think it's better than the second half.
That's true.
It feels, because they're not adapting from the actual Killing Joke, they're telling their own story. It flows a lot better. The animation looks a lot cleaner. It looks a lot more consistent. The initial 2-minute fight scene is it's a really great way of introducing Batgirl, getting us to really know this character well. And I mean, I like the design. They're pretty standard. It's a very good, faithful portrayal of Batgirl. I quite like. I think Tara Strong did a really good job voice acting Barbara. Obviously we have our criticisms, but I think the material she was given, she did a really good job. Like, she sounds emotional when she needs to be. She hits all the right pitches. Kevin Conroy, he does okay. I think he's getting a bit tired of the role now. He's sounding very tired in the role. I can understand, he's been doing it for nearly like 30 years now. I mean, he's sounding a bit put on, but he still puts on a decent performance. It's not his best work ever, but he still sounds good. A lot of people are like, and this is like a minor thing as well, is the villain in it, Paris Franz, who I don't like. I think he's a really terrible villain in it. But a lot of people are like, oh, that's, it's a retarded name. But they do actually lampshade it in the series when there's that scene with Batgirl and Batman bringing her coffee, and he's like, he's called Paris Franz, and she's like, really? So like they do actually address that it's stupid actually in the movie, which I thought was really nice. What about you? Is there any positives that you come out of it?
The first fight scene, as you said, it was really good. It was really well paced, I think. It wasn't too slow, it wasn't too quick, it was just right. We got some interesting angles from it, and it was interesting to, like, some really interesting animation, like with the truck as well, her like grabbing onto the end of it and that kind of thing. Like, it was all really well animated, and like you said, the first like 30 minutes were probably the best animated, because I feel like they could take their time with it and they could take their own kind of take on it, if that makes sense, because it wasn't, as you said, an original before it, so they could take it in any direction they wanted, like artistically kind of thing.
What did you think of Batgirl's voice acting?
It was good. It was really good. She, like you said, she was emotional when she needed to be. There were some parts where I feel as if she could have acted a bit more distraught, or like less distraught, if that makes sense. But apart from that, I think she did a solid performance and it was really good. I personally like the gay best friend. I don't know his name.
Reese.
Reese. I like him because he's funny, but I also don't like him because he's stereotypical.
Yes, I hated the character. Every time he appeared on screen, I was cringing. I don't like that gay best friend stereotype. I mean, everything he said essentially was a stereotype. He was literally there to kind of, like, one-liners, and I just don't like that character. I thought it was offensive. I honestly thought it was so offensive.
In all honesty, I think, like, literally the only line that made me actually love him was when, like, Barbara's getting really annoyed because of, like, the whole Batman situation, and she, like, tells him, and then she storms out, and he's like, wow, and I thought gay relationships were dramatic, or something like that.
Yeah, he says, and I thought the gay scene was...
Yeah, literally, and I was just like, I can't not laugh at this. I know it's bad, but it's so funny.
I don't like it, but that's just my case.
I'm not saying I hated the fact that he was stereotypical, but I like that one little line, and I think that's what made me love the character, because he was just so dumb and so badly portrayed. I was just like, oh my god.
Shall we talk? Is there anything else before we continue? Anything else that's positive?
Not that I can think of.
All right, so let's get into kind of like the problem with the story, which is sort of the portrayal of Batgirl. Essentially, this is more to do with her relationship with Batman. This is it. She has a romantic interest in Batman, and she's shown as she's obviously been doing it for a few years, and she's obviously grown attached to Batman in this, and we're sort of dealing with her growing feelings with him, and eventually that climaxes into a rather hot night. What do you want to... That,
and it was more because of how they portrayed her that was my really big problem.
Well, what was the problem? What was wrong with the portrayal?
They portrayed her as this hormonal, whiny female that couldn't, like... They portrayed her as pathetic. That's all I can, like, describe it as. They made her seem like this really weak character, like, emotionally and physically. Because whenever she got, like, into a bit of, like, a pickle with Paris or whatever the hell
Yes,
his name
Paris was there.
Batman was like, oh look, I'm here to save you. I'm man, you're not allowed to be here. And I was like, okay, and whatever. And then Batman was being all like, no, you can't go to him, it's what he wants and all that kind of thing. And I'm just, no, let her beat his ass. She's strong.
Could you not argue the point that he's very experienced, so he would know more about her?
No.
He would know more about the situation than her. Like, he's
Yeah,
dealt with
the-
psychos like him
The
before.
thing is here, if she's never been through this thing before, like you said, they're supposed to portray it as she's been with him for a while, she's been doing this for a while, and this is her first insane person like this she's come across. I find that hard to believe. Not only that, but the fact of is you need to deal with those kind of things at some point if you're going to do this. And I feel like this was the perfect thing to deal with it for. In fact, it's disgusting as it is, I feel like she could have used his interest on her to her advantage kind of thing.
What we need to address is, why was this story told? And I believe the reason this story was told is because they were trying to compensate for what they'd done in the past. Barbara was portrayed as a weak person, so they were trying to compensate that by like trying to address, like, you know, she's a female, so she has to overcome, like, you know, like the male chauvinist. I mean, the villain in this is, you know, he's obsessed with her, he's makes sexual advances on her, and it's just to do with her sex, essentially, the fact that she's female.
And she beat him
And
up.
that's like the writers like patting themselves on the back and going, we've given her the male chauvinist she can now overcome and prove that she's... But I mean,
But she didn't.
I feel that that's what they were attempting to do, but it's not come off nearly as well.
She didn't do it.
She beats up a bunch of the henchmen. First time she fights Paris in the vault scene, she actually gets overmatched pretty easily. Like, he manages not only to hit her at one point, he also manages to spray her with a knockout thing, in which she has to retreat. Like, she couldn't physically take him at that point. You could argue that, you know, that's to show that, you know, she's inflammable, you know, she can be beaten.
I find that so goddamn hard to believe, though.
Why?
Because she's smart. She can analyse a situation and she can know the best way out of it. But I feel like they wrote her so poorly that they didn't know what the hell they were doing with her. Because she's not dumb. She's Oracle, for God's sake. She can hack like that. She's smart. She can analyse these situations. She's not going to just run into them because she has some weird ass lover Batman. It's just not how she is.
I mean, I suppose you could argue the point that this is a much younger, like, she's not Oracle yet, gone into the hacking and the computer, so, you know, she wouldn't necessarily have that experience in this situation.
I still think that she's smart enough to analyse the situation.
Well, I mean, we do have scenes where, like, you know, she finds the recording and she manages to get a trail. Underneath, Batman goes out to try and find another hotspot, but it turns out she and him, Paris, you know, doing this undercover thing where she's finding out additional information.
Which I'm pretty sure Batman still finds out where they are anyway.
And if I remember correctly, he does appear later, I believe. A fight breaks out actually in the area where she's sent to, and Batman helps out there. There's also the fact that in the final fight scene as well, she beats up Paris pretty one-sidedly as well.
Yeah.
But at that point, she's like incredibly emotionally distraught.
She's like an emotional wreck.
She's emotional wreck. Like, at this point, we're supposed to go, oh look, she beat up the bad guy, but it doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like she's that strong.
So she was like, she had sex with Batman. That's pretty much what it was kind of about. She's like, oh, you ruined everything. You ruined my life. I'm pretty sure she says, like, you ruined everything while she's like punching him.
Yes.
I'm like, but he didn't.
You could argue that because, like Batman said, he has an emotional connection to you on this case. That's why I want you off the case. So you could argue that this case is essentially what pushed him to this point.
But do you want to know what I still don't understand? Okay, that fair enough, but how did it push them to have sex?
Well, the thing is we'll have to talk, because this is something separate, essentially. Is we have the scene where they have sex. Essentially, throughout the movie, Barbara, you know, she's talking about, like, her relationship with Batman. She's obviously very interested in, and it gets to a point where they're arguing about the case, and then
I didn't understand
they fight initially, and then Barbara starts kissing him, but Batman does reciprocate. He does, you know.
It's not like it's rape or anything. It is like...
Yes, well, I mean, she initiates it. If Batman doesn't initiate it, she initiates it. They have a quick fight, and then she kisses him, and then he reciprocates. Like, obviously, Batman feels something on his end.
But I don't know, I just think it was just out of nowhere kind of thing. Like, I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay.
I suppose you could argue that it's like in the heat of the moment. Like, both of them deep down have, like, this passion for one another.
So.
And, you know, like, I mean, they always said, like the closest thing to love is hate. So, you know, the idea that they're in like that, kind of like they've been working themselves up, having like this fight, like all these feelings have been bubbling to the surface, and then that's what does it, that's what leaks it, and they have the...
I suppose another reason why you could say, like, because I was thinking about this, like, after I watched it, another reason why Batman doesn't want her on the case is you could say maybe it was jealousy, but I really can't see Batman being, like, letting that kind of get to him, because I can't think of that, but it was just a thought I had in my mind, and I just wanted to address it, because I just didn't, I didn't want people to just think that we were just taking this, like, just being like, oh, well, yeah, kind of thing. We have to kind of, like, take into the perspectives of what multiple people might think about these characters, kind of thing. Like, because it crossed my mind, I was like, maybe he was like this because he was jealous, but it doesn't seem like what Batman would do.
I don't think it was jealousy on the part. It's really difficult to know because we don't really get a feel for Batman's side of the story. This essentially is another reason for him to go after the Joker in the second half, you know, because he's now got this emotional attachment to Batgirl, you know, gives him more of a reason to hunt him down. I don't think it was so much jealousy as it was, I do feel that he was just incredibly protective of her. Like, he saw it as, you know, this guy could potentially, like, you know, take it one step too far, and he doesn't want to put her through that. Like, I mean, there's a big discussion, like, in which he talks about, you know, there comes a point where all of us one day going to have to stare into the abyss. There's going to come a point where they might, you know, cross the line, and they have to step back. They have to, you know, come back. They have to come back to the light, you know, step away from the dark. And at the end of the story, Barbara mentions that she, you know, she saw the abyss, and she realised, like, what was going to happen, and this is the reason why she's not Batgirl in the actual comic, in the actual second half. And I mean, I did like that aspect, like there is now a reason as to, you know, why she's, you know, kind of stepped back from the superhero lifestyle,
instead of just kind of like being like, okay, Batman, I'll do what you want me to do, kind of
yes thing. It's difficult to know. Like, Batman comes off as very standoffish. I mean, you could argue that, you know, it's like a relationship. You know, they had the one night stand, and Batman, you know, like he in his eyes, he thinks, you know, that was like a spur of the moment. We shouldn't have done that. Barbara also goes through like a similar thing where she's like, oh, you know, it was an incredible experience. But they're both in the point where they're not talking to one another. They're both kind of like, I mean, Barbara has the scene where she talks to Batman in the car, and like she's just saying, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to mean anything. We can go back to the way we were, and Batman's just not talking. Like, you know, he's very standoffish.
Can we just talk about the fact that I was just thinking about this now? When they did it, did Batman keep the mask on?
Probably, I imagine.
Because I was like, right, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't build this with sex as an intention. So how are they just going to get fully naked on this rooftop?
Yes, I mean, who's going to watch the birds?
And I don't know, I was just laughing thinking about her going, Batman, and
I'm sure she'd say Bruce.
I just thought it was really funny. Also, another thing you could, like, this is something for later on, has absolutely nothing, and it's just a thing I was thinking about. We don't technically know how far the second half was from the first half, if that makes sense.
Actually, I think we do, because if I remember correctly, I'm not fully sure, but there's like a scene, because Barbara narrates the entire story, and just as the thing ends, I think she says that there's a storm coming, and it's implied that I think it was something like a few days later, maybe a week later. So this is actually...
Oh, never mind then. Basically, I had this thing where I was like, oh, if they wanted to try and be like really dark or something. This is not canon by any means, and it was just like a dumb little thought I had that might try and make it like more despairing or something kind of thing. But you know how they had sex, right?
Yes.
No one's going to just carry a condom around with them, right? So they probably did it without a condom.
Okay.
And then when Joker shoots her in the stomach...
Yes.
What if she was pregnant at the time? That probably was not the case.
Yes.
I'm just saying, what if that was a possibility, though?
Yes, maybe, but I'm sure Batman's got condoms on his.
Yes, definitely on his utility belt.
I'm sure he's got bat condoms.
Just like, don't worry, kids, be safe. Pulls out condom, hands it to someone.
Exactly. Yeah. When I first watched it, I was bored.
I was
really, really, really bored. And you know what? Right, when they first announced Batgirl, they were going to extend her story, and I thought, that's a really good idea. That is genius. That is something that I think would really help the story. But how they went about it was just done in such like a really, really bad way. I mean, I think it could have worked. Like, I think there is some aspects that could have worked. I mean, I think they should have, like, I don't think it needed to be half an hour, because half an hour goes on way too long. This, like, story with Franz, it's so boring. It's really offensive in my eyes. I really don't like the idea that, you know, like, pretty much all the criminals in it like make like sexual remarks to
And
her.
they're all
like
male.
they all are, well, I don't mind that they're all male. Like generally henchmen tend to be just all males.
I mind that.
Well, I mean, like, you know, I don't mind that. It's just everything is addressed to the fact that she's a woman. I suppose it is realistic. I mean, like, you know, like they are
Right, but
potentially rapists. It would make sense.
But not to like that goddamn extent. Like literally
Yeah.
every second she's getting like a I don't know if maybe it's just Gotham, just Gotham.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I keep getting this feeling that when the writers were writing it, they were actually like patting themselves on the back. I get the feel like there's the scene where Barbara leaves the library where she works. We do see her at her workplace, and there's a scene where like there's a male and a female, and the male's like, "Oh, I need more space. You know, you're clouding me. You're clouding me all the time. You're clouding me all the time." And then Barbara looks at him, and obviously because she's been just dealing with the stuff with Batgirl, with Batman, she takes him and then chucks him in the thing. And she goes, "There, you've got your space." And I just feel that when the writer wrote that scene, he was like, "Yeah, I've done it."
I even forgot that.
He's like, "Yeah, I've done it. You know, I've proven that females can stand apart." That just feels like the most cynical and lazy attempt at like female empowerment. Like because they put that scene in, you know, where like she helped that female stand up for herself. You know, like we've done a good job.
If Batgirl had gone up to the girl and been like, "Hey, yeah, don't worry about it," because literally he's so insignificant it doesn't matter. If she had talked it through instead of punching it through kind of thing.
Yeah, like, you know, fists solve all problems. Apparently.
Like, if she had talked it through, it would have made her look like such a stronger character, because sometimes words really are stronger than like physical actions.
Yeah, I mean it's just a minor scene. It's like a quick 5-minute scene. But
I've blocked that out of my memory because I'm assuming it annoyed me so much.
Yeah.
Then again, I blocked like most of the 30 minutes because I actually had to ask Helen to like explain to me because I was so bored throughout the whole thing.
I've seen this movie twice.
I'm pretty sure when I was watching it, one of my eyes was like rolling back into my head, while one eye was trying to stay focused, but it was like kind of blurry.
I will say I've seen this twice now. I saw this the second time. I didn't actually mind. I mean, I'm still not a massive fan of the first 25-30 minutes. I wasn't as angry, like, because I knew what I was expecting. I went into it and I actually enjoyed the first half a little bit more. I'd still like any future watchings. I'd probably skip it, but I just wanted to watch it a second time just to, you know, get a better feel for it. But I think we've talked enough about.
Wait, no, I'm not.
Oh no, okay, go on, continue.
Anyway, basically, the first time I was watching it, well, I was with Khan, and Khan was watching it. I was like, "Oh, what are you watching?" And he was like, "Oh, it's a Killing Joke." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so all I saw was like, I'm pretty sure I saw like a pink bra. I was like, "What is that?" It's like, "Don't worry about it, just watch it." So I went upstairs and I watched it. I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" The first 30 minutes is so boring, and I had to like stop after like 10 minutes. I came downstairs and I was like, "Khan, it's so boring." And he was like, "Just keep watching." So I watched it, and then after 30 minutes, I was like, "Okay, I've ascended into the heavens. Like, what could make this better and retrieve what had been wronged here?" So, and then I kept watching, and then we finally got on to The Killing Joke.
I think the actual adaptation of The Killing Joke is fine. I've got some problems with it, personally.
Yeah, same.
I think there's a scene where the rain's dropping. The tone instantly shifts. It shifts in the right direction, which is that creepy, surreal and disturbing, the original Killing Joke. It's just got this feel of like, from the first scene with the first comic book panel with the flashing of the beam of lights, and you see Batman pull up into Arkham Asylum, like it just screams really unsettling tone. It doesn't start like that actually in the cartoon. There's actually a scene where Batman goes to this building where apparently there's been a group of dentists from a convention. They've been missing for a few years, and it turns out Joker's obviously giving him the Joker gas, and he's like,
which weren't decayed at all.
no, I think they were decayed, but I think I'm assuming that the gas like probably helps them stay in that state.
Because I was assuming when they were like apparently missing for like years, I thought they would literally like be like skin like dripping. I don't know the quickness of decomposing bodies, but I assumed it would be faster.
I'm not really too concerned on how well the body's decomposed or not. It's more important about the actual scene, and I mean, I actually do like this scene. I mean, it's an addition, you know, to the comic.
But it's important to me.
I know, but in terms of a story thing, I don't really think it matters whether the body's decomposed or not. All we need to know is Batman found this really disturbing thing that has, you know, been going underground for like 2 years, and this is like, I like that there's a reason now for why he goes to talk to Joker. he has the speech about, you know, he realizes that, you know, they've been doing this for so many years now, and he kind of realizes that, you know, at one point one of us is going to kill one another, and I don't, and you know, he obviously wants to, he sort of wants to like make an end with the Joker, and I do like that there's this scene where kind of like he sees like the horrifying what happens because of them, and this is sort of the reason that, you know, eggs him towards it. What positives do you have from the actual
What, like
Joke?
all of the Killing Joke?
Yeah, just give like a general like.
The voice acting for the Joker was amazing.
Yes, Mark Hamill is an amazing
Loved
Joker.
it was everything with the Joker was like really good as the Joker, not as before kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, everything.
the man he was
Yeah,
before.
everything with the Joker. Really good. Really showed that he was like this. He didn't care. He would kill who he can to get to his goal kind of thing. And like I even liked some of the parts where he wasn't insane, if that makes sense. Like where we get the flashback. I liked some of the parts of that, but there was also bits that I had like problems with. But other than that, I enjoyed most of it. The animation was standard and flawless. I enjoyed it. I think it was a very good adaptation. It maybe could have been better, but I think it was a good adaptation to what they had with obviously that small comic. So
I do want to say that I do agree. I think this is a good adaptation. It's not a great adaptation though, which is really disappointing when we know that this is the Killing Joke. This should be, you know, one of
the only insight to Joker's backstory we really have.
Well, I mean, we've had others, but this is kind of been kind of like this kind of set the stage for like Joker stories going forward. This was even if what we see isn't necessarily what actually happened, it's kind of helped shape what the Joker became. This is one of the quintessential Joker stories. For the positives, yeah, I do agree. Mark Hamill, you know, he always knocks it out of the park whenever he does Joker. He can do so many different ranges of the Joker. He can do the comedic slapstick. He can do vicious serial killer. He's just got a grasp of that character, and it's obviously to do with the fact that he's been doing it for so long. He's been doing it since the 90s. But the fact that he can constantly reinvent the Joker for whatever medium he needs. The Joker in the Batman animated series, he changes it just enough for the Arkham Asylum. Like the Arkham Asylum one is that Joker, but it's just a little bit different. He's more vicious in the Arkham Asylum. This Joker, I've always said this about the Killing Joke, is there's much more vicious stories. The Joker in this story is the one that's at his most vicious, but it's also when he's at his most vulnerable. This is a part where we see the Joker at like his lowest, like where we can see potentially that man underneath what he became. Mark Hamill can do that. The voice acting that he does do with the Joker is really, really good. I mean, I've always wanted to hear Mark Hamill say these lines. Whenever I read the comic book, I always think about saying it with his voice.
Also, we got to hear Mark Hamill sing as the Joker.
Yes, and I mean his voice is
really good. It made me so happy when he started singing.
That little scene where they're singing him and the circus freaks is really good. Unfortunately, the actual like roller coaster ride I think is censored a bit too much, which I'm not a massive fan of, just because I feel this was given an R rating. I mean, I'm glad that they didn't felt because we've got an R rating we don't have to push it, but this didn't feel like they went all out. I mean, the scenes with Jim Gordon, like when he's naked. I mean, in the original comic book, you see his ass.
They won't even show ass.
They censor like his ass. I mean, you need to see him like in his like he's been stripped down to his.
Do you
bit.
just want to look at Gordon's ass?
Yeah, I do. I love his ass. But the point is that Joker's doing his best to strip him of his humanity. He's trying to strip him down to his barest emotions. And the scenes where Barbara's photos
she
have
doesn't
been
even look like that.
the scenes where Barbara's have been photographed and bloated up in the roller coaster. They've been like you barely see anything. I mean, I think there's like a quick glance of maybe her butt, but I mean, even then, like it's only a quick cut. Like
her boob with bra and shirt on.
No, I think she is naked in the photos, but they really do a good job of like, you know, hiding like.
If you're lucky, you might see some under boob.
The thing is that it's not portrayed as fan service. This is not fan service. This is
that's the thing. It's not supposed to be.
It's a disservice. Like you don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see her in that state.
But that's the thing that's gonna like. That was supposed to be the thing that would push Gordon over to the edge, being like, literally, what the fuck? He's got these photos of my daughter in this really vulnerable situation, kind of thing, and that was what it's supposed to be. And it's like, if you're worried about a boob being sexual for this, you really can't do the Killing Joke if you do that kind of thing. Because I'm assuming that's what it was. I'm assuming they were just worried because they're like, oh, this is a boob, it's a really sensitive subject. And it's like, but no, because it's not even a boob. It could have been an ass. It could have been anything that was, I don't know, it just didn't seem
I think they played it way too safe. And they didn't need to play it safe.
It just didn't seem like anything to push Gordon like right over the edge kind of thing.
I do want to say though that the additional scenes that they do add, I think, a really, really good job. I mean, I do like that scene. Like, there's a part where just before the roller coaster, there's a scene where Joker like has like a trial essentially, where, you know, he talks to Gordon, and he's like, you know, what would you do to someone who takes law into their own hands and, you know, ruins lives? And Jim Gordon says, I'd throw the book at him. And obviously he's saying it in the idea of Joker and all of the freaks and Joker, you know, like saying throw the book, throw the book, throw the book. And then when he does do throw the book, there's like a pop-up of Batman, obviously showing that, you know, like he's being hypocritical in a way. And like Joker's like, you know, I'm not on trial here, Batman that was on trial. And I mean, I did like that. That wasn't a scene in the comic book. It was a really nice addition. I mean, they could have done more with the whole idea of, you know, Batman, of like this idea of hypocriticalness. They didn't do too much of it, but, you know,
I loved it when Gordon was like, bring him in like by the book Batman, and I like the fact that taunting by Joker didn't affect Gordon's view of Batman.
Well, I mean, that was in the original comic, was that he's in the end he doesn't break. You know, he proves that he's stronger than that. I mean, I think they maybe could have done a bit more with the whole, you know, where he's like catatonic and it's implied that he might have broke. I mean, if I remember correctly, they have actually cut out a little scene where there's a scene where Joker, like when Gordon's in his catatonic out of it state, Joker talks to all the people who've surrounded him, all the crazy people. It's like, you know, here's this specimen of man with its bloated sense of this idea of sanity, and like he's really breaking him down as like this like freak, and that is actually cut out of this adaptation, which I'm a little bit upset about, because I mean, you don't want to get rid of that dialogue. That dialogue is really, really good. Like, you know, you want to keep every little bit of it if you can. Also in that scene is, I mean, in the original comic book, essentially when Batman actually comes, you know, he has a quick fight with Joker runs off, and then there's a scene with him and Gordon where, you know, they work it out, and then he runs into the funhouse with him. In this, there's actually an additional like 5 minutes of fight scene. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I suppose, I mean, in the original comic book, there's not a lot of fighting in it. There's not a lot of action. I didn't really care for the fighting, but at the same time, I didn't mind. I didn't mind its addition. I mean, it is cool to see, you know, Batman fight. I mean, it is cool to see him fight some of the freaks, like the werewolf man and the two-headed lady with her knives. I mean, that fight scene was okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it didn't need to be there as well, but, you know, because I mean, in the original, all the freaks run off, and then we don't see them again.
So I feel like, yeah, that kind of like gave them the situation of where they would be. I don't know. I was neutral on it, like you. I didn't really care. I was just like,
I mean, I suppose it wraps up that point, because I mean, as I said,
it wasn't boring. I mean, so I didn't mind.
Yeah.
As long as it's not boring, I don't mind.
I actually don't mind, you know, the small people like having a fight with Batman, because I mean, they're a little bit more relevant in the comic book, because obviously they're the ones that like torture. They're the ones that sort of torture Gordon and, you know, drag him around, and they're with him. So I kind of don't mind they're like giving them an additional bit in the funhouse. I thought that worked quite fun. I mean, I like the scene where, like, you know, Joker's like Batman's going through the funhouse, and, you know, like, I mean, it's you know,
all the mirrors that he smashed and all that bad luck he's got.
It's not as trippy as the comic book, because I remember in the comic book, and I mean, it is really difficult sometimes
to adapt things.
It is really difficult, especially the Killing Joke. I mean, some of like the shots in it and some of placement is it would be really difficult to adapt. But I just remember, like, in the original comic book, we're seeing like sort of the perspective from Joker, and like all the comic books like taking place from upside down, and like above, and we're like seeing it from left and right, and it's all from like the Joker, and it looks really creepy. But in this one, we don't see the Joker until the very end, where they go in that room and like Joker, like, you know, beats the shit out of Batman and chucks essentially like the entire kitchen at him. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm
surprised he didn't get a rubber duck out and throw it into like a rubber chicken.
I suppose you could argue that's more bathroom than kitchen.
No, I meant like, you know, the chickens, the squeaky ones.
Oh,
like
okay.
Everyone always says.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought maybe that would have been funny, like him to throw it and then the squeak.
There is one quick scene that I really, really liked, actually. I think it's just after Barbara gets crippled, and he's just purchased the funhouse, and there's a really cool scene where he turns the lights on, and there's a shot where there's the Joker, and he's just off to the left, and then it turns like that, and like the lighting and the face is so off model. It doesn't look like the Joker, but it really works. Like, I just love this.
I think that was
like,
the thing I was talking about earlier.
his face turns from the left to the center of the screen, and like there's like this shining on it, and he looks so freaky. But I just love that shot.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't
was
in the original comic book, but it looked really good. That was a nice addition.
That might have been what I was on about earlier. I don't know.
I love that little 2 seconds. That was a really great addition. I loved it.
The cake.
Yeah, that was nice. I do want to talk a bit about the direction at times feels very flat in this. Like, you know, like for the Killing Joke, like I actually went back and reread the comic for this podcast, and oh my god, some of the transitions in it are so amazing, especially like when they come into the flashback. Like there's the scene where in the flashback where he's talking to Jeannie, and there's the scene where his hand's reaching out. He's reaching out to Jeannie, and then it cuts in the comic book to him reaching his hand out, and it's like it's like a laughing clown machine, and you can see his hand reflecting in the back, and it screams so much, like you know, like what happened to him, what he became, and it's just like it's so beautiful. But in this, it just cuts. It doesn't even cut to like him looking at the thing. It just kind of cuts to like the side, and it's not even the laughing clown machine. It's actually a fortune teller machine, and it's just like such a weird change. Why would you change it like that? Couldn't you have done the transition like with the hand reaching out? Like there's just something like that is actually one of my favorite panels from the original. I just love that panel so much with him reaching out, and it just screams like so much.
I have a problem with Jeannie though.
Why? What was your problem?
Because like
was that in this adaptation?
In this adaptation, in the original, right? She seemed to really like care about him, you know.
Yeah.
And nothing really bothered her about because she was genuinely happy as long as she had him, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But in this, something she says and the way that Jeannie in this is written to deliver the line, it just makes it seem as if she's fed up of him at some points, which she never was in the original. Like I'm pretty sure she says something, then goes. Well, she doesn't sigh in the original, and I don't know. It was just a little extra thing that made us kind of like think, oh, in the original one, I'm pretty sure that Joker at the time, the not Joker...
Yeah, call him Joker.
He literally gets upset over like nothing, and we were supposed to see that he's genuinely upset about his job going to shit, and him feeling as if he fails, like, as a husband. But in the, like, adaptation, it makes it seem as if Jeannie pushed him over the edge to make him feel that way, kind of thing, instead of him feeling that way himself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling. I mean, I suppose you could argue the point that, you know, like she's having a baby, she's in a really bad situation. You could argue that even the most kind-hearted of people will be affected by the fact that, you know, your husband isn't like making it in like kind of like the rundown situation. Like there's only so much that a good person could take before, you know, there's just that little bit of like, I wish life could go a bit better. I thought Jeannie was all right. I mean, the problem is that, you know, she's only in literally like one scene. She's only in literally a 1 minute scene, and she never appears again because obviously she dies. It's really hard to tell.
Another thing that really annoyed me was like when Joker finds out that she's dead, he did not seem affected much by it, whereas in the original...
that's another scene that I really wasn't a massive fan of, because in the original, when the policemen come, we follow Joker, and he goes out and he talks to the policeman, and we see him like him slumping down, and we see him breaking, and we actually hear the conversation pull out. While in this adaptation, a really weird change is they have Joker go out, and we don't follow him. We stay with the two mafia people, and then Joker goes out, he comes back in, and then he just says all the dialogue that him and the policeman had already said. Like, he explains everything that happened, and it's just...
why would you say it to two mobsters?
It's just like, but no, I don't think that's the problem. The problem is we need to see the Joker, we need to see him break down. We need to follow him and see him physically, like, emotionally. We don't want to, you know, we don't want to stay from there and look at the outside, seeing that conversation, and then him coming back. We want to follow his story. It's, you know, the backstory, the flashbacks are his story, and it was just like a really weird change. Like, they didn't need to do that. I mean...
He just didn't seem emotional.
The flashbacks, I think, were really weak. I really wasn't a massive fan of the flashbacks. Mark Hamill does an amazing Joker, but the human Joker voice he did, it was passable. I mean, I don't really think he pushed the material enough. I mean, he didn't seem like the scenes when he did break down, he didn't seem as fully broken up about it. I mean, he was sad, but, you know, like,
but they didn't really write it in this for him to be like really distraught kind of thing. Whereas in the original,
I mean, it's just different. I think it's just really difficult for Mark Hamill, because I mean, he's been doing Joker so long, and now he's got to do like a humanised version of Joker. can imagine like that whiplash would potentially affect him. But I mean, the flashbacks were so like nonchalant. I mean, as I said, the transitions, they do such an amazing job with the transitions in the comic books. In that scene that we were just talking about, Jim Gordon is being sent into the roller coaster. We cut to the doors, and then it cuts to the doors in the bar, and like it's just like such a beautiful transition in the comic books. It flows so naturally. But in the cartoon, the transition is he goes through the doors, and then we just cut to the bar, and the bar is like we're like seeing it like from a high angle. We're seeing it from like a distance angle, and it's just like that transition is just so like nonchalant. I mean, you had a really cool idea for like a really nice transition. That's what I mean at times where it just the direction feels so flat. It just feels so lifeless at times. Where it just feels so standard. I mean, it works. I mean, you know, it still tells the story, but it doesn't tell it in a interesting way.
The last scene with Red Hood was standard, I guess.
Oh, you're talking about like I mean that was a really cool scene. I did like the scene where, you know, like the bumblingness of that human Joker. I mean that does come across quite well. You know, like he's just
I just felt it was like faithful, so I like to the actual like original, so I didn't really have much to say on it, if that makes sense. Like it felt the same as when it did like in the comic for me, so maybe that was the best like scene for it, because it felt like how I felt when I read the comic. So I haven't really got much to talk about that one because it literally feels like the same as the comic for me.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty standard one. I remember the transition in that one was it cuts to like the rain. There's like water on the floor, and then it cuts to like the river of him looking down at the river, and yeah. But I mean, it was fun. It was fun. The scene with the Red Hood. I mean, you know, it's all right. It was an okay final scene. I mean, the bit where, you know, he becomes the Joker, I do like that. Like he's completely off. Like again, it's sort of like cutting to the more. It's cutting more to the actual comic book style when they have that scene of him like laughing and coming up, and then seeing his face, and like you can see like blood coming from his eyes. Really nice, really nice. But again, it just screams it has to cut to that type of art style. While the original Killing Joke, it's like different again. It's got like they've tried to mesh the styles. Like they've tried to keep the original as much as possible, but then also like make it more more modernized. And it's, you know, because obviously like adapting the original one is quite difficult. I imagine, like, you know, the art style is. I can imagine that is so difficult to like do for a full length movie. So any last thoughts? We've criticised this, but would you watch it again?
I would watch it again, but
with the first 30 minutes.
I'd watch it again with the first 30 minutes, and then like you do, like I wouldn't really watch the first 30 minutes again.
Oh, actually, I have like there's a little bonus thing I actually just want to mention, because this is like something that only me as like knowing the voice actors would get. But Tara Strong, who voices Batgirl in this, she's also more well known as the voice actress of Harley Quinn. And I mean, that was just like a little like, I don't know, there's like little like weird connection there with, you know, Joker, like, you know, harms essentially Batgirl / Harley, like he cripples her. And, there's obviously the idea of like sexual, like this one implies that Joker might have potentially raped Barbara in this.
I didn't get that one. I didn't get that.
Well, I mean, there's the implication where, because they had this scene with Batman talking to the prostitutes, where the prostitutes go, oh, you know, Joker's usually around here when he breaks out, but they go, he didn't come round here this time, and Batman goes, why do you think that is? And he goes, maybe he found a new girl. So there's that implication that he might have potentially raped her.
Another thing that I like is when Batman was like on his computer and all the pictures of Joker were on the screen, and they actually had Harley there. Yeah,
they had Harley in the left hand scene, which was cool. They had like a little. I mean, obviously Harley didn't exist at the time of this comic, so it's a nice little adaptation. I also liked like all the screenshots. There's also one that's a reference to one of the old animated series with there was a shot of these fish that had been Jokerized, and that's a reference to an old animated cartoon called The Laughing Fish, which featured Joker poisoning the river supply with the fish, which I thought was like a nice little reference flashback.
I would watch it again.
Yeah.
And then like after that I would watch the rest of it, but just like the Killing Joke half.
When I heard about the Killing Joke, I was really hyped.
I don't know why. I came into it with high expectations.
I should have really tempered my expectations.
Same.
I went in it way too high, because all I heard was, you know, Killing Joke is finally getting adapted, and I was like, wow, that you've got a winner right there. And then they were like, we've got Kevin Conroy, the original Batman. We've got Mark Hamill, the original Joker. And I was like, yes. I've always wanted to hear Mark Hamill say it. I mean, he's even gone on record to say like if he was to do a final Joker story, that would be it. Like, he's always wanted to do it. And I was like, I knew he'd like pour his soul into it. Yeah, I mean, you had like a winning, like DC, you had like a winning combination. How did you go so wrong? How did you let so much affect the story in such a negative light?
Right, but the thing is, at least they didn't make it a live action.
Yeah, I mean...
Because imagine watching that first 30 minutes, but live action.
I couldn't see this. I can't see The Killing Joke working live action, to be honest.
I hope it doesn't.
Oh, actually, before we finish, do you want to just talk about like the final scene with Joker?
Oh, the laughing, yeah.
Like, we actually have the scene where, you know... I mean, there's always been like this controversy over whether Batman kills Joker at the end. Like, that's existed since the original comics.
Which I think was what was good about it, what made that story so amazing, was the fact that it was so ambiguous, I think. Ambiguous at the end of it, as to whether if he killed him, if he just like went to prison kind of thing, or if the Joker had killed Batman. I don't know, I thought it was like, I always loved the comic because of that ambiguity at the end, but that was completely stripped at the end of this.
Well, I know that in the original, The Killing Joke wasn't part of the continuity. So at the end, like, the whole idea that Batman did kill Joker, it was there. But if we take it in the sense of the larger continuity, obviously he doesn't kill Joker because he appears in later stories. But people are always like, you know, Batman shouldn't kill the Joker. I always had this, like, theory, like, maybe he is supposed to kill the Joker. We always see it as a bad ending if Batman kills the Joker, but I always get, like, this feeling like there's a sense of this, like, from the start to the end, like, you know, it comes full circle. Batman talks about, you know, how, you know, one day we're going to kill each other. And he has that same conversation at the end. And if we go by the idea that he doesn't kill Joker, then the cycle just continues on. Like, it's a never-ending cycle. Like, throughout this entire comic book, nothing's changed. Apart from, you know, Barbara getting
crippled.
But, like, nothing's changed. Batman's stance hasn't changed. Joker's not changed. Like, there's just something so soul-crushing about the fact that there was just no point to any of this. Like, the original comic... I mean,
this was the end kind of thing.
I mean, Batman should kill Joker. He should finally have an ending to this story. That's how I've always felt about it. Like, but yeah, that's just like a little something. I mean, they do leave the ambiguity in this one as well. I mean,
I don't know. I don't think it was as ambiguous
because he obviously. I mean, you could argue that he clearly puts his hand on his chest in this version. He's obviously not going for the throat. But as the lights go black, Batman is the only one to keep laughing. Joker stops laughing.
Yeah, but it's not that quick to strangle someone.
I know, but you could argue that when it goes black, we don't know what the fuck happened.
I don't know. From the vibe of it, I didn't get the vibe of him killing him. I mean, whereas in the original, I did. It's like with the Barbara thing as well. Everyone was like, oh my god, the Joker raped her in this kind of one. And I was like, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that way. Whereas in the original, I don't know.
So you think this was more straightforward? This was...
Yeah, you know. In the original one, I don't know. It felt so dark. It felt like something the Joker would do to get in Gordon's skin. But obviously, like, your opinion as well, you were like, oh, I don't think the Joker would do that kind of thing. But
it is difficult to say. I mean,
it's people's different interpretation. That's what's wonderful about that old comic, is that you're supposed to be left asking questions, and you're supposed to have these ideas of your own and not get them answered, because that was the beauty of the comic.
I just want to say, like, one more thing, which was the glimmer of sanity. Because in the original comic book, obviously, like, Batman makes this play where he's like, you know, I can help you, you know, we can work through this together, you know, I can bring you back from that dark place that you've kept yourself in. And in the comic book, there's just this really nice shot of, like, him, like, grasping his nose like that, hands in his nose like that, grasping his
nose in his hands,
grasping his nose in his hands like this. Like, he just looks sad, and you can just tell
he was thinking about it.
You can just tell for, like, maybe even a second, maybe even a millisecond, that he was, like, considering it. Like, he was, you know, he was sane for, like, 1 second. He was actually the man that he potentially was before, and then he realizes that obviously he can't go back. And I mean, in the comic book, they do it just that one panel is so amazing.
To be fair,
but in this adaptation, I don't know. It just cuts to him, like, you know, it's
kind of going like
a sad face, And then, you know, he's like, he turns around.
He looks at the hand for a second, looks away and thinks about it, and then just like gets up.
I just think that they could have done that iconic moment of him being like saying for just 1 second much better. Okay, generally, I actually really enjoy.
I enjoyed it.
I like this movie. I've like a lot of criticisms, but this is
the thing with us.
Okay.
We always criticize everything we love, but that's because we love it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
This is a good movie, but it should have been great.
Yeah.
This should have been like a 10 out of 10. This should have been a 10
But
out
it
of
was
10.
like a 9.
Well, no, for me, I'm gonna go lower. I'm gonna say like a 6 or 7.
But I really like things because I really like animated movies. That's my problem.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
I say
6 or 7.
I say 8.59.
Okay, so you're going much higher than I am, which is weird.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. That was the problem.
I think it's because I've gone up with way too high expectations.
Yeah, but the thing is, I only watched it once and you watched it twice.
I've seen it twice, and I did enjoy it more the second viewing.
That was me though with Suicide Squad. You enjoyed it like the first time you watched it.
But the thing is, I'm staying 6 and 7 on a second viewing, so you can imagine like how much lower it was originally.
So yeah, I'm just like I'm not gonna watch it again because I don't want my 9 to go to like a 7.
Well, potentially, if you watch it a second time, it might go up to a 10.
It will not go up to a 10 with that first 30 minutes.
I mean, I just can't justify giving it an 8 or 9 just because the first half drags it down so much.
Actually, yeah, I can't give it a 9. I'll give it an 8.5.
If you could cut out the first 30 minutes,
it's a 7.5 and
okay.
8. If we were to rate, because I thought we were rating just the Killing Joke part, that's why I rated that a 9.
I'm coming over with someone who really loves the comics, and I've just seen too many flaws in it.
Are you saying I don't like the comic?
I'm not saying that your love for the comic isn't.
I think it's more because I love animation, and it was very strong animation that won my heart over the most. And there are some parts I think they could have pulled off better, but I think I don't know. It's just an animation thing with me. It felt fluent. It felt good. It felt like a good medium to get through with the story.
I don't know. I thought the second half, like the animation, it feels.
It's not as good as the first.
It feels
half.
janky. I find the
janky.
I find the second half like cumbersome. There's something about the first half where it's much more smoother. Second half feels just clunkier, and it's really hot. It's really upsetting to say that because the second half is the Killing
first half
Joke.
Should have been the clunky half.
I can understand why it's smoother because, as I said, they were working from their own story. You know,
this is a random question, but you know Batgirl. I can't remember because obviously I watched like when it first came out. Did she have heels on?
I can't remember.
Because if she did, they would have broke by now.
I don't think it matters anyway.
It does to me.
Yeah, generally we both recommend it. I've been a lot more critical of it.
I recommend it, but like literally drink every time Barbara goes Batman.
I've learned that I'm the more critical one of the two of us.
No,
it's just weird.
Right,
it's just weird. I really thought I was going to be.
No, when it comes to anime, I'm so critical of Danganronpa. Flipping fight me.
Yes. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to our podcast about The Killing Joke.
Thank you.